All right, today we're talking about a name you definitely know, JPMorgan Chase. It's not just a bank, it's pretty much the backbone of American finance. So the big question is, how did one company get this big? How did it become the most powerful bank in the US? Well, let's dive in and find out. Okay, let's just start with a number and, try to wrap your head around this one. $4 trillion. That's not a typo. That's the total value of JPMorgan Chase's assets. It's a staggering figure that really sets the stage for the scale we're dealing with here. We're talking about an institution that's woven into the very fabric of the global economy. And you know what? It's not just about the assets. If you look at its market value, JPMorgan Chase is the biggest bank on the entire planet. This isn't just another big company. It's the benchmark. It's the standard for financial power. So again, how on earth did it get here? So you gotta wonder, how does a bank this massive see itself? Well, their whole identity is wrapped up in this one key idea, the fortress balance sheet. It's exactly what it sounds like. They see themselves as this impenetrable financial stronghold, a rock of stability no matter how crazy the world gets. Now that fortress, it definitely wasn't built in a day. The real story of JPMorgan Chase is all about mergers, acquisitions, and just relentless consolidation. Think of it like a giant mosaic, made up of pieces from dozens and dozens of different banks, all coming together to form the giant we see today. And the history here? Oh, it's got some wild twists. Get this, the bank's oldest root, it wasn't even a bank. It was a water company, started way back in 1799 by none other than Aaron Burr. Yeah, the guy who, had that famous duel with Alexander Hamilton. Burr was clever. He tucked this little clause into the company's charter that let it use any extra cash for banking. And just like that, he created one of America's very first banks, right under the noses of his political enemies. So that's where it all started. Now, let's look at how this thing grew. Fast forward to 1996, Chemical Bank buys Chase Manhattan, but they're smart. They take the more famous Chase name. Then, in 2000, that new Chase merges with the legendary JPMorgan & Co., and boom, we have JPMorgan Chase. But really, the biggest moves happened more recently. 2004, they acquire Bank One, and that's huge because it brings a guy named Jamie Dimon into the picture. He's still the CEO today. And then, this is where it gets really interesting. During big financial crises, JPMorgan Chase becomes a consolidator. In the 2008 chaos, it basically absorbs the failing Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual. And it happened again in 2023 with the collapse of First Republic Bank. While others were failing, they were just getting bigger. Okay, but let's be real. You don't get to be a financial titan of this size without, well, making some waves. The journey to the top for JPMorgan Chase is absolutely littered with major controversies and, frankly, a long list of legal and ethical battles. $13 billion. That's not just a big number, it's the single largest fine a corporation has ever paid. Ever. This was back in 2013, and it was to settle investigations into how the bank sold all those risky mortgage-backed securities. The stuff that was at the absolute heart of the 2008 financial meltdown. And then there's this, $2.2 billion. What was that for? Well, that's what the bank paid to settle a lawsuit from investors in Enron. Remember Enron? The energy giant that collapsed in one of the biggest, most infamous corporate scandals in history? JPMC was accused of helping to finance the whole fraudulent scheme. And how about the London whale? Maybe you remember that story. It was a single trader in their London office who made these massive, risky bets that just spiraled completely out of control. It ended up costing the bank over $6 billion. And the cherry on top? A $920 million fine from regulators who said the bank had, and I'm quoting here, flaws permeating all levels of the firm. So you start to see a pattern here, right? These aren't just one-off mistakes. When you look at the record, we're talking about their role with WorldCom's bonds, failing to flag their suspicions about Bernie Madoff's massive Ponzi scheme, and even more recently, their connections to Jeffrey Epstein. It starts to look like these enormous settlements are almost a recurring cost of doing business when you're this big. So, okay, after all that history, the mergers, the controversies, what exactly is JPMorgan Chase today? Well, it's this sprawling, global beast of an institution with its fingers in pretty much every corner of the financial world. Let's break it down. The company basically works in three main parts. The biggest piece is what they call consumer and community banking. That's the Chase Bank that you and I know. For checking accounts, credit cards, mortgages, that kind of thing. Then, under the more prestigious JPMorgan brand, you've got the investment bank that deals with huge corporations and governments, and the asset and wealth management side, which handles money for big institutions and really wealthy people. So yeah, today the bank is an absolute global juggernaut. It's so deeply connected to everything, to you, to me, to huge corporations, to governments all over the world. And because of that sheer size and reach, regulators have given it a special and kind of scary title, systemically important. So what does that actually mean? Well, systemically important is basically the official fancy term for too big to fail. It means that if this bank were to collapse, it could potentially drag the entire financial system down with it. And because of that, it has to follow much stricter rules and get more oversight, because its health is literally critical for the whole global economy. And that right there, that brings us to the huge central question that hangs over JPMorgan Chase and all the other megabanks. Have they just gotten so big, so powerful, and so interconnected with everything that their very existence is a kind of fundamental risk? When you think about it, the whole journey is just incredible. From a sneaky 18th century water company to a century of nonstop mergers to strategically snapping up rivals during financial crises, all of it has built a financial behemoth that is truly unlike anything else. The fortress is complete. Which leaves us with one last big question to chew on. In a world that feels more uncertain than ever, is this financial fortress a source of stability we actually need to hold the whole system together? Or has it become such a massive concentration of power and risk that it's simply too big and too dangerous to exist?